Okay, for this lesson, we're going to be solving linear inequalities level 2. And just like it was in last week, whenever you go to type in your answer on Delta Math, the variable, that letter, is always going to be on the left side. So to make it easy on ourselves, we're going to solve for it when we're doing our work and get our variable to the left side each time. So there's a couple extra steps on this one compared to last week's because we're going to be given parentheses, so we have to distribute. So first step every single time is to distribute. So I'm going to take this 3 and distribute it to my parentheses. I can do 3 times negative 8d to give me negative 24d. And then 3 times 1 to just give me positive 3. And then I'm going to bring down every single other thing that I didn't touch. So the 1, the greater than or equal to 10d plus 6 plus 1. So step 1 so far, distribute. Step number 2, you want to combine your like terms. So you're going to look for things that are on the same side of your inequality symbol that are like terms and combine them. So I have 1 and positive 3 that I can combine, and I can put them either at the front or at the back of the negative 24d. I'm going to put them out in front. So 1 plus 3 gives me 4. I need to bring down that negative 24d. I need to bring down my greater than or equal to. And on the right side, I need to combine my like terms as well. So I have a positive 6 and a positive 1 to give me positive 7. And I need to bring down that 10d that I haven't used yet. And then our last step is just to solve like you were last week. You want to get all your letters to the left, all your numbers to the right. So I'm going to start out by getting my 10d to the other side. It is positive, so I'm going to subtract it. And I'm going to put it underneath the other d variable so that it's like terms. I'm now left with 4. Negative 24d minus 10d takes me to negative 34d is greater than or equal to 7. You want to keep solving, so you want to get the d all by itself. So you want to get the 4 to the other side, so you're going to subtract 4 since it's positive. And you'll be left with negative 34d is greater than or equal to 7 minus 4 gives me 3. And then our final step to get that variable all by itself is to divide off the negative 34. Since you just divided by a negative, that tells you that you need to flip your inequality symbol. So it'll now be less than or equal to your variable all by itself on the left. And on the right, I have 3 divided by negative 34. When you put that into your calculator, you see that you get a long decimal that isn't just a short, quick, concise decimal. So we're going to leave it as a fraction. Negative 3 over 34. It doesn't matter if you put the negative in the numerator or the denominator. And 3 and 34 have nothing in common that you can divide them both by, so your fraction's simplified. So you can go to your Delta Math. We need to do less than or equal to. And we have negative 3 over 34. So you can see that your answers aren't always nice full numbers. Sometimes you get weird fractions, but that's okay. Our next example, again, step number 1 is to distribute. So I'm going to distribute this negative 5 to both the pieces inside my parentheses. So negative 5 times 3t gives me negative 15t. Negative 5 times 10 gives me negative 50. And I want to bring down everything that I haven't touched yet. Step number 2 is to combine your like terms. On the left-hand side, I have 2 and negative 50. That gives me negative 48. And I need to bring down the piece that I haven't used yet, the negative 15t. Less than or equal to. We'll make that look more like an 8. On the right, you want to combine like terms as well. You have 5 and 9 that you can combine to give you 14. And you want to bring down that 5t that you haven't used yet. Since 14 is positive, you'll put a plus sign in between the two so that there's a symbol there. Your last step is just to solve to get the letter to the left, the number to the right. So I'm going to get my 5t to the other side. It's positive, so we'll subtract. Negative 5t minus 5 more t gives me negative 20t. I want to bring everything else down, so negative 48 greater than or equal to 14. You want to keep solving, so you want this t to be all by itself on the left, so we need to get 48 to the other side. So we add 48 to both sides. That will give you negative 20t is less than or equal to 14 plus 48, I get 1262. And our final step to get the t by itself is to divide both sides by a negative 20. And since we divided by a negative, we have to flip our inequality symbol so that it's not going to be less than or equal to. T is all alone on its left. On the right, we have 62 over negative 20. And again, we know that 62 divided by negative 20 doesn't give us a repeating decimal. So you could either decide to do one of two things. You could go to your Delta Math and you can type in negative 3.1. Or you could simplify your fraction. 62 and 20 are both even, so I can divide by 2 on the top and bottom. That gives me 31 on top, negative 10 on the bottom. And you could input this simplified fraction into Delta Math as well. I need it to be a less than or equal to symbol. And the reason why I can put in the decimal version on this one compared to the last one is that it's a short, concise decimal. It doesn't keep on going on after the 0.1. And then our last example. Step number 1, distribute. I see this negative sign out in front of the parentheses. This negative sign is really like a negative 1. And whenever you're multiplying by negative 1, you just flip whatever sign it is. So negative 1 times negative 2t, we can just flip the negative 2t symbol and now it becomes positive 2t. Same thing with the 1. 1 is positive, so it can now become negative 1. And we'll bring everything else down. Since there's no symbol in between this 8 and 2t, I am going to put a plus sign since it's a positive 2t and bring t plus 5 minus 7 down. Step number 2, you want to combine your like terms. So I have 8 and negative 1. That gives me 7. Bring down the plus 2t. And on the right side, combining your like terms, you have 5 and negative 7, which gives you negative 2. And your last step is to solve. So you want to get the t to the other side. It's positive, so we'll subtract it. 2t minus t just leaves you with 1t, which you can just write t. You don't have to write the 1. Bring down the 7 plus, less than, bring down the negative 2. We want the t to be by itself, so we'll subtract the 7 from both sides. T is less than Negative 2 minus 7 gives me negative 9. And the t is already by itself. We don't have to divide anything off. So t is less than negative 9.